And you are plugged into Decent Cities, where we talk about decentralized virtual meta cities. And joining me today to talk all things real estate and tokenization is John Dean Markunas. Welcome, sir.
Joe, thanks so much for having me on your show.
So the big news is, just in the last week or so, you're the newly minted chair of the real estate committee in the Florida Blockchain Business Association. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks so much. This is an exciting proposition, exciting initiative for the state of Florida, I think, for real estate across the board with blockchain and other technologies pushing forward.
Let's just dive right in. You're involved in all areas of real estate, commercial, titling, and see potential in so many different places for utilizing blockchain in the space. What's the one top of mind for you that jumps out as the coolest opportunity?
Oh, without a doubt, the number one buzz in the industry, blockchain in real estate, is tokenization or fractionalization of real estate. That is the future. That's going to provide the liquidity on a global basis. So that's the hot topic. It's not moving as fast as you would think, though, the adoption.
And that's one of those areas that's going to bump into the legal hurdles. What does it mean when all these random and potentially anonymous people own pieces of these properties? So as it's shaping up now, obviously the DAO or whatever can't own the property, so it still has some traditional vehicle. So is the immediate solution to plug in sort of the modern technology, the blockchain, to interact with potential investors while that still sits under sort of a traditional corporate umbrella?
Well, that's exactly right. It's funny, but the tokenization aspect, like you mentioned, it relies on a close look by regulation and government and legal. There's legal hurdles right now, but that's holding it up a little bit, Joe. But the other part is the question of where's the market? Two parts of that. Who's the investor? Everybody's saying the tokenization of real estate will open it up to the mom and pops, to the taxi cab driver, the guy down the street. Well, really, is that the market? So there's a question about the market. The second part is where do these tokens that you get when you invest, where are they going to be exchanged? What can you do with them? What can you do with them legally? What rights do you have? So I think there are a couple of gray areas there that are slowly emerging out of the cave and getting some attention and clarity. But that's what's holding up tokenization in the real estate area.
Yeah, and I think the other interesting part too that I've been thinking through is how do the tokens accrue value in in some of the traditional crowdsourcing models. We have some of those here in St. Petersburg, where some of the more innovative building owners are allowing people to buy into the building. They're managing it, and then they're actually sending dividend checks or return checks out of the rent proceeds each year to the investors. Now it's a little bit different than when you have to accrue the value up into the tokens. And what's your sort of take on how they'll receive the value and soak up the value to increase in what they're worth?
Well, I look at it from a couple different angles. First of all, with commercial real estate, with a lease, for example, if you're tokenizing a lease or a building with multiple leases, or even a REIT with multiple properties, there's going to be income, obviously rental income. That is really what's that's the return to the investor, right? Is that rental income, whether it's dividends or quarterly, monthly, and so on. I think the other aspect of it is the appreciation of the asset, which I think will increase the value of the token. Now, lease rates increase as well, which increase the value of the property as well. So there's a dual thing going on with the increase of the value of the asset and the increase in the rents and so forth that help contribute to the capitalization of the asset. Now, the interesting part of that, Joe, is land. A lot of developers are also looking at crowdfunding for land tokenization, and raising money to pay off debt, to build a new project, whatever you want. But interesting enough, where's the value for an investor investing in land? Well, it's the asset appreciation of the land itself and eventual project construction.
That's cool. And then I think the biggest part there is that liquidity is just, assuming these tokens all end up on some sort of real estate exchange, just the fact that you can go in and out of them so readily is going to be a huge game changer in the space.
Is going to be right. Right now, you may have a small exchange. It might be an internal exchange on that particular platform, but you have to have a wider other exchanges to deal with, including international exchanges. So there's a deficit there of how exchanges are going to be working.
Right. And you also see some other value. Obviously the immutability of the blockchain has some good tie-ins to titles and things of that nature. But you made an interesting point in a piece that you wrote about construction and how the supply chain and a lot of the costs and project details in construction could really benefit from a blockchain solution.
Well, I think the construction industry is one of the most messy businesses around, right? Even worse than a real estate transaction, because you have so many vendors involved with a big project, right? Commercial project, especially. Well, Joe, there's a company in Australia who's tackling that exact problem in the commercial real estate development area in the construction process. Construction is a massively complicated, complex project with a lot of people, a lot of vendors involved, mistakes involved. What blockchain will do is really help manage the process of these different vendors and suppliers. And better than that, it'll help them get paid using smart contracts, but only upon completion of their work for the project. So I think that's critical for a construction project to be able to pay their vendors, suppliers on time, but based upon the criteria, which is a completion of their task. So this is slowly getting looked at more and more globally for the blockchain for construction. Yeah.
And you say slowly, obviously real estate's a very competitive advantage. There are lots of uses of technology and people looking for an edge. At the same time, it's also a very foundational and old school industry as well. So as with you being a champion of blockchain and using those types of this type of technology in the space, are you finding the sledding easy, or is there a lot of resistance? What's your take on how readily real estate pros will adopt the technology?
Yeah, it's funny. The developers and construction companies, they rely on legacy technologies. It's almost as if it's their fate that they have to deal with their process this way. And a lot of this then goes back to education on getting the word out about blockchain and how it can impact the industry, their industry. So there's a lack of communication on that. And like you said, there's different legacy systems in different cities, and it's all just all fragmented for construction companies. Some people, they use different softwares, they have different management systems, different protocols.
Well, I think the idea of getting paid on time for the work should be a good motivation to learn something new. And so a lot of this education, theoretically will come through the real estate committee at the Florida Blockchain Business Association. Have you started to think about how you want to leverage that platform? Is it just a matter of repeating the idea till it gets normalized, or what are strategies for getting the word out?
Well, I was speaking 4 years ago now, 2017, at a conference in New York. This is like 4 years ago. And in the concluding remarks were the following. They asked me what I thought needs to happen next. And I said, there are three things that need to happen: education, education, and education.
Right.
And it's still 4 years later, we're still in that boat where we need to create the awareness and educate the different entities in the real estate industry. And there are many real estate brokers, real estate agents, escrow companies, mortgage companies, you name it, brokers. And we need to get out to them with the education and guidance, how blockchain can impact and help the industry overall.
There's definitely a lot of opportunity for those who are willing to innovate, to really to get some wins from being the first to adopt what is ultimately an inevitable evolution of the space.
Yeah, inevitable, you're saying, but one of the problems is people are busy, very busy. Real estate agents, they're running at a breakneck speed, getting deals done, getting projects done. They're on a treadmill. They need to get off the treadmill and take a look at these new technologies and innovations that are going to help. So that has to happen first before we can before there'll be, I guess, what you call mass adoption across the industry. But there are leaders. There are leaders that are going to be leading the charge on it for sure.
And as you divide your time up now, are you spending more of it working with folks in the industry to understand the opportunities, or are you working on deals of your own?
I'm an advisor, and I started out 2017 advising mostly startups in the space, startups that were in the real estate industry and wanted to bring blockchain in to help them, and then startups who had a blockchain platform who wanted to apply it to a sector in the real estate industry. Since 2017, that my focus has changed a little bit. Granted, there are more and more startups that are coming out, especially in the tokenization space, but I'm also looking at it's matured a little bit now. So the companies I provide business development services for and some advisory services where I mentor are companies that are now a little bit more mature, small to mid-sized enterprises in the space. And again, across the board, I've been working on projects from the beginning for land registry, county recorder's offices, tokenization. I had a client, terrific, great project out of Singapore. It was blockchain for timeshare, which is kind of a messy industry in and of itself and self-governing. And then also one of the hot topics now, or hot areas where a lot of companies are pivoting to, real estate blockchain companies, is providing a platform like a customer management tool using blockchain for a transaction. So can you imagine a deal, residential especially, where you're buying a house and you have a listing agent and a selling agent, and you're using the blockchain to manage the process, and every actor or player on that chain, the appraiser, the mortgage, the loan officer, the escrow, the notary, the roof inspector, the house inspector, they're all online, and the agents are managing their transaction that way. So you see a lot of companies moving towards that service, which is basically, again, customer service management, but with a slight edge called blockchain.
Yeah, and it's just when you look at blockchain as an augmentation, tool, then it's a lot easier to digest. I think the big hurdle will be, is there ever a time where a DAO or a smart contract can own a piece of property, and will the laws ever adjust to allow that to happen? What do you think?
Well, when you talk about laws and rules, I think the Florida Blockchain Business Association is spearheading, in Florida especially, of course, is sort of spearheading legislation for these types of things, not just real estate, but across the board, including crypto use and investing and trading, so forth. So I think in terms of real estate, there are probably 2 or 3 areas that legislation and regulation will need to sort of grab onto and help create legislation that's for cryptocurrency use in buying properties, which is becoming more and more prevalent. There's a company in California now that's a brokerage company, and she started a company. They're trading properties using crypto only. So that's moving forward, the cryptocurrency use, and that has to be regulated. From, let's say, land registry, county recorder's offices here in Florida. There are 67 county recorder's offices, and there may need to be some sort of state impetus or legislation to a regulation to help them transfer recording activities to the blockchain. So there's outreach to do on the regulation side, without a doubt. But the private industry are the ones that can really bring everything to the forefront, the private sector.
And you mentioned that you've been advising startups for a few years. What's sort of the pipeline been for startups in the space, in blockchain, and then in real estate specific blockchain projects. Can you see a market increase?
Without a doubt. There's a report that came out, an industry report from a group called FIBRE, the Foundation for International Blockchain and Real Estate Expertise. It's a nonprofit based in the Netherlands. I'm a board member. We put out an annual industry report, and we track, part of the report tracks startups around the world. Let's say 3 years ago, there were over 500 startups in the blockchain and real estate space. And we're talking about real estate. The next year, which was 2020, it dipped down to about 400. Now it's up to towards 600. So more and more companies are starting up in the real estate space. Some of them offering duplicate, the same type of service for tokenization or document recording. But from 2017, we also saw a lot of startups that just faded away, and rightfully so. Lack of a quality product, lack of a genuine platform that actually works, and lack of financing. So,
yeah, it seems people, crypto gets a bad rap for being, volatility is sort of a separate issue, but sort of, worthless things coming up and then fading away. But in the startup space in general, 1 in 10 make it. It's a 10% success rate in traditional startups. And really, with the crypto-based startups, they get tagged as being coins or whatever, but they're simply startups, and 90% fail. So it's just in line with industry.
Well, it's funny. It's something that Mark Twain once said. He said, all you need to succeed is ignorance and confidence, right? And a lot of these startups are in that space. It's ignorance and confidence, and some of them make it out past out to the outfield to succeed. Yeah,
and I think it's a problem that's common. It's a problem that exists in startups, but it's more common in early stages of big changes like this, where you have sometimes a solution looking for a problem, and I think that. A lot of times you can look at the theoretical uses for blockchain and they make sense, they technically work. And so, you start a project, but they aren't compelling enough to switch from the existing solution. And so, it takes something that warrants a behavior change, warrants the switching costs. And I think sometimes in these early opportunities, the technical possibility overshadows the real world implementation likelihood.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Joe, I think that a lot of these startups actually were inventing, like you said, looking for a solution, but the solutions they were providing to an issue or a problem, you don't need blockchain. I mean, there are some metrics you can look at to see if you need blockchain or not, or blockchain will work. I mean, in some cases, blockchain, you don't need it for a particular business application or process. Yeah.
And sometimes it's worse. It's very taxing, and if you don't need decentralization and immutability,
right. And this has muddied up the waters quite a bit. That's why people are so confused about blockchain and its value proposition.
It's that damn Dogecoin that did it. So cool. Well, I've enjoyed the conversation. Really happy to have your expertise. Now in the fray with the Florida Blockchain Business Association. Sam's a great guy. That's just going to grow into a bigger and mightier and cooler organization over the years, doing important work. And Florida is real estate. Florida is an incredible real estate market, and as Miami and to hopefully a greater extent here, Tampa Bay, are trying to become the hub for this new technology. It's we can't do that without successfully finding real estate ways to play in that process. So the work you're doing now will pay big dividends in the next couple of years.
Yeah, Florida needs to grow beyond the legacy technologies we're using in real estate and start to. The real estate contributes billions to the economy. So I think once we start to implement blockchain solutions in the mortgage industry, in the construction industry, for real estate agents, for real estate brokers, we'll see, and escrow and notaries, and disintermediate some of these players. I think we'll see a lot more efficiencies in Florida, and a lot more, I think, even lower costs for people, and maybe even have more of an impact on people wanting to move to Florida as well. So one thing I'll just close with is that when we talk about real estate agents, they're very concerned about blockchain or technologies or being left behind, right? But as I always say, real estate brokers and real estate agents will not be replaced by technology. They won't be disintermediated, right? Others will be. Escrow, notaries, I think maybe attorneys with smart contract use, but real estate agents will not be replaced by technologies. They will be replaced by agents with technology. So the real estate agents here to stay with technologies that will help them and us and buyers and sellers get deals done.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great line. The reality is that the easier you make it for people to play in the market, with fractionalization, that becomes, that lets the average person on the street throw in some money and invest in real estate. That's going to drive prices up, right? The sector, because that money floods into the space, that's going to make projects, more available, more enticing, and really, at the end of the day, if an agent or broker is working off of a commission, a flourishing market with lots of fresh capital to do projects is going to help them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. Without a doubt, that's happening now. There's no pause button right now for what's happening in real estate, especially in blockchain use. No, there's no pause. It's ongoing, and it's going to be disruptive. And if blockchain is a disruption, it's really a source of reinvention. So this is the value proposition of blockchain. It's going to be disrupting industries, healthcare, cybersecurity, across the board, finance, real estate. And because it's disrupting it, these startups and entrepreneurs and you and I will be helping reinvent the marketplaces.
I like it.
Yeah.
John Markunas, thanks for joining me, and we'll look forward to continuing the conversation and building a blockchain real estate empire in Florida.
Let's keep it going, Joe, and I'll look forward to collaborating with you in the FBBA, Florida Business Blockchain Association, and move the state forward. Yeah, appreciate it.